Hi, I'm Christina Myers, host of The Stina Life. In this episode, we're going to explore the roles each of us are playing as we are shifting from a world of pain and suffering to a place where love and peace leads the way. Let's dig into it. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. First, I want to extend a heartfelt welcome and thank you to all of the new subscribers and listeners across YouTube and Spotify. And of course, thank you to each and every one of you who tune in on a regular basis. I am so grateful and humbled by the outpouring of support. And thank you very much for sharing your energy with me each time we connect. Well, we are wrapping up November and we have finally moved into Sagittarius season. And the energy feels a bit more hopeful, I feel, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel a little bit more uplifting? We aren't quite out of what I would consider the self-discovery mode that we have been in for some time now, but this time it feels a little bit more expansive and really focused on the possibilities that lie ahead of us versus being in the void that we've been in, the womb, and sitting within the darkness within our own inner thoughts and really exploring the emotional landscape that we have been digging deep into. Eclipse season and Scorpio season certainly helped us to get out of our own way and clear the patterns and pathways that were standing in our way of stepping further into our own divine path. And we were fully driven to make the changes that we have really been avoiding or just starting to kind of step through slowly by sitting in this void. After we have been flinging the excess debris from our energy fields. And with this full moon in Gemini that is hitting on November 27th, depending on when you're listening to this, it might be after that date. We are getting much more clear about putting some movement and focus to what it is that we need at this time. And it's not necessarily about long-term planning. That will come when we start to move into Capricorn season. But it's about dreaming. It's about looking at the big picture about what we want our future to look like. And that feels more hopeful to me because really there are so many possibilities. The possibilities are endless. And we have moved more into the quantum and have even more ability than ever to bring in what we want. And as we continue to move closer to the fifth dimension, and some of you are already in the fifth dimension, we're solidly in the fourth dimension for sure, but our fifth dimension consciousness we are tiptoeing our way into that. It is really starting to bring more into our lives and focusing on the life that we want. How do we want to move forward? As I talked about in the last podcast, for many of you, this was a deep season of closing out karmic cycles that you have come to Earth to be in a body to finish out. And these have been things that have been following you for lifetimes. And this was the lifetime to get it done. This was the karmic cleanup lifetime. This was the lifetime to clean up the ancestral trauma, to clean up the past life pieces, to do the work of mending things in this lifetime. And all of this was very important because we are no longer able to carry forward these storylines if we're going to bring forward a new way of thinking and a new way of living. We've been carrying this energy of a very old paradigm, and it consists of very heavy and dark energies in a lot of cases. And it's no longer a match for the frequency that is coming into the planet. And every day we are getting bombarded with new energies. If you just look at the Schumann resonance report, If you start listening to some of these other folks who are talking about these blue waves that have been heading us over the course of November, I mean, I'm feeling these. I'm feeling this at a deep level. I wake up every morning and I'm like, okay, what has happened today? Because something's definitely happened. And I've noticed it very prominently when I'm sleeping, that I'm in these extremely deep sleeps. I wake up, I feel disoriented. I'm not sure what timeline I'm in. I'm not sure what dimension I'm in. My eyesight's changing. We're definitely shifting, and we're shifting at a very fast pace, which means the releasing of all of this stuff has to continue to purge out. And that's why I don't think we're quite out of it, even though things feel a lot more optimistic than they did. What's been beautiful about this season is that it has allowed us to understand our own role within the collective and to come to terms with the burdens. They feel like burdens. They feel like heavy burdens that we have been carrying. But understanding those burdens that we have been carrying and how they have been impacting and adding to the collective consciousness, the junk in the collective consciousness. But we've also been receiving very clear understanding of our abilities and responsibilities for bringing about change to ourselves first and foremost. That's the most important thing. How do we change from the inside? How do we change ourselves first? That will then spill out into the collective consciousness to help bring about a change and birth a new earth, a new way of being that helps to provide balance and harmony to ourselves and to each other. And we really couldn't do this before. We've been inching. We've been doing little baby steps. Each of us have been doing the baby steps, right? But this whole summer, this clearing out of all of these relationships, of all of these karmic contracts leading up to this fall where we've had to go into the womb, it's been a deep process. It's going deep. It's looking every crevice of ourselves. It's looking under every surface. What have we allowed to take in? What have we allowed? What boundaries were not strong enough? And essentially looking at this and saying, you know what? I don't think the foundation was really strong. I think that there's a lot of cracks in this foundation. And I think it's time to tear down the house, take it down to the studs, actually just rip up the foundation, and let's start from scratch. And much of the work that I've been doing, and I know you have been doing too, because I've heard from a lot of you, especially after the last podcast, so much feedback that you're feeling this so deeply and that you're going through this, is that we are in the process of laying down that new foundation and tending to the inner temple, making sure that we are keeping it clear and cleansed daily so that there's no more residual, like dirt per se, hanging around. And everything has to be scrubbed down. Everything has to be sterilized. Everything has to be remodeled so that we can build a solid foundation that then we can start to add on top of that things that are going to stay for the long term and travel really to infinite possibilities. And that's what's coming. We're dreaming big right now. We're in the energy of dreaming big. What do we want things to look like? What are we hopeful for? And then as we move into Capricorn season, we're going to start to be able to really build the foundation for the long term. I've been thinking a lot about the roles that we each play within our human existence, right? In our human form, and what we each sign up for, because we each create a contract, we each create a path, we each select the people we want in our lives to learn the lessons. But we play a role. You each play a very significant role. That is the reason you're here. And it's an honor and a privilege to be in a body in Earth, on Earth at this time. There are days where it feels very cluttered, and there's days where it feels messy and difficult to understand sometimes why we are here, why did I choose this setup? I hear that a lot. Why did I choose this setup? Why is this so hard? Why am I having a breakdown? Why did I choose this painful lesson? Why is that? Why is that helping me along my path? And at times, it's very hard to keep going. We feel like giving up. We feel like we're going to throw in the towel. And we just want to hide from our destiny. We want to hide from the lessons. But when we understand why we are here, what our role is, it helps to ease the feeling of being burdened and realize that it's a really great gift. It's an honor that each of us has and are bringing these lifetimes of knowledge with us to be able to help each other and also help propel the earth in a new direction. And the burdens you don't have to carry. You don't have to carry these burdens. These are burdens that you can release. But I think a lot of us feel very responsible for continuing to carry the burdens. And many of you who listen to this podcast are holders of light. And this is a very special role. This is a path that can feel very lonely. It can feel confusing. It can feel hurtful. There's a lot of rejection and abandonment and loneliness and pain that can be prominent themes for those of you who chose to come into a body and to help the collective. You are a trigger for others. You help to expose shadows and other people by just being you, by shining your light upon them. And in return, you can elicit feelings of hate, division, hurt within other people that get flung back onto you. Because when a person's very unconscious, they are unaware of their shadows and the binds that keep them in this state. And when you shine a light on something that they're trying to hide, that they don't want to address, that they are not conscious of, it can be a very triggering moment for them. And this is your role. This is your role, is to help trigger them. I personally know this very well. I have been a person who held many shadows for myself. We all do. I mean, let's just face it. We all have many shadows. That's why we're here. We wouldn't be here on earth if we didn't. In the past, before I became more conscious of it, and still working through it, by the way, but in a more conscious way, thank goodness. But in the past, it would be about fighting fire with fire for me. It would be reacting to those who were holding a mirror to my face. I would get very triggered because they were shining their light upon my dark spaces that needed to be exposed and looked at. And I was also very much conditioned in that reaction mode from a very early age. That was modeled behavior for me. And this is the role that I have been, quote, playing with others who have been coming into my life. And it is extremely triggering. And many times the people who are attracted to a light person, a person who holds the light, they will turn around and run away. They'll hide. You know, they're deep in the shadow. They're deep in the darkness. They're avoiding looking at the pieces that are uncomfortably waking them up. And when your light shines very brightly upon them, they enjoy the warmth. They certainly love the energy. They take the energy. They get what they need out of it. That's why we call some of these folks energy vampires, because they love the light. But if you turn your light away from them, it casts a shadow, a dark, cold shadow on them, and it leaves them sitting and having to face their shadows. And that's scary. And in some cases, for that person, it can feel like a betrayal. It can feel very hard in a betrayal versus understanding that it's actually a gift. It is a huge gift that they have just been given, because the betrayal shows them how much they loved. And being able to love somebody else is the greatest gift. It's not a betrayal, though, when it's coming from a place of love. And as long as we are holding that frequency of love, then it is a lesson versus a true hurting of other people. For some of you, you are leaders in this field. This is what you're coming here to do, is to lead others. And there are times as leaders that it's very important that you push the baby birds out of the nest. They get very comfortable. They love the warmth of their mother. They want all the energy, right? But they cannot ever learn to fly on their own and face themselves fully if they're going to stay in the nest with you. And this is not a comfortable position to be in either, because you do have to do this sometimes. Otherwise, you get completely drained and you give all of yourself, and then there's nothing left for yourself or for anybody else. You know, some people walk through life expecting their diapers to be changed, but that's not our role anymore. And that is shifting. Our roles are shifting. Our collective roles are shifting as well. We are truly stepping into a time where we're taking on new roles as this new earth emerges. So hopefully we're leaving some of these stories behind. But I think still for many of you, you are part of the collective group that are the awakeners. You are the activators for those who are still living within the shadows. And it's important for you to embrace your role and understand, as long as it's coming from love, the full unconditional love, nothing else, no attachments, no expectations, they're going to find their way on the path. It may be hard, but sometimes it will require your absence to be able for them to get on that path. And you're going to get a hurling of hurt your way sometimes. I had somebody, a really gifted tarot reader, reading recently, and was interesting is when she tuned into my energy, she said, I see you trying to put up a Christmas tree and you just don't have much joy around it this year. There's a lot of feeling, not really feeling into the holiday spirit, right? And she said, I can see bruises all over your energy field. And she says, as you're putting up the tree, I see a doorway with glass. And there's a whole line of people, just tons and tons of people that have come through your path. And they're wanting to get back in. They're wanting to talk to you. They're wanting to have you be back in their life. But you are so bruised up. And, you know, you've allowed them to purge their pain onto you. And you can't take one more purging. You can't take one more beating anymore. So you have to keep the door closed and walk away and put yourself first and tend to your bruises. The good news is that they're just bruises. They will heal, but this takes time. And it also takes a shifting, a refocusing of what you're going to allow into your life and not allow into your life moving forward. Um, I clearly understand what my role has been. And I say has because as I am building this new foundation and tending to the temple, and I have closed this karmic cycle out, my role as well as your roles in the collective are being reinvented. They're changing. We moved into new timelines. And so that old storyline of having to feel obligated to take care of people or awaken them on their path, that still may be our job. But I think we see ourselves a little bit differently now, having to go inward and really look at this and have these hard conversations with ourselves. I think each of us are looking at this a little differently now. I know I certainly am looking at it differently. Um, and I had somebody who had put a lot of bruises on me reach out to me this week and tell me, hey, happy holidays. I really miss you. And I didn't respond. I didn't respond back because I'm just not in a place yet to respond to this person. And I'm not sure if I want to respond either. And they then sent a note to my husband and said, hey, she's not responding to me. What's the deal? Well, my deal is that I've put a lot of time and energy and effort into this, and it was never really appreciated. And there was a lot of false hope and false promises that this change would come. And I said to my husband, listen, I can see that there's an effort being made here, but it's been a really short time. And there's been a lot of these times where we would get our hopes up, things would be changing, they wouldn't change. And so at this point in time, this person's got to kind of be pushed out of the nest, learn to fly on their own. And once they're fully flying and we can see a consistent pattern of them flying, then I may re-engage later. But at this point, I'm taking care of me. And I think that's the important piece, is that you understand your role, but you also understand what's healthy for you. And when you understand your role, when you understand the bigger picture, when you understand the soul contract, you understand when to come in and help others and when to take the time away to take care of you. It's putting a new foundation in place. And it helps things to be a little less tumultuous for you and brings peace into your life. And I think every single person that has walked the path alongside of me, they may not have stayed on the path with me, but they've come in, they've walked the path with me. And every single person who's come in has taught me something. It's been a lesson. And it's helped me to expand and evolve. Every person who comes into your life is a spiritual messenger. They are teaching you something, whether it's kindness with their smile or shutting you out so you can understand yourself without the distractions. It's all a gift, in my opinion. All of it. As the holidays are approaching, at least in the United States, there's a lot of these really classic movies, old movies that have been playing. And I've been taking a lot of time just to rest and sit on the couch and watch films, which I normally would never have done before. I always am going, going, going. And the one that came on the other night was The Wizard of Oz. And this is one of those films that just reminds me of my childhood. It has a lot of nostalgia, probably because I was raised in Kansas, and the film centers around, getting back to Kansas. So it's always held a special place in my heart. And it was so funny because I started watching this and I haven't watched it in years. And it wasn't a coincidence that, this came across my path, especially as we've been emerging from Scorpio season and that we have been really forced to look at ourselves and the changes that we need within ourselves. And the main theme or lesson from the movie, if you haven't seen it, is that you have everything that you need already in front of you. It's all within you. And it's just a matter of trusting yourself, loving yourself, and realizing that you don't need to escape or give your power over to somebody or something else that appears to be bigger than you or to have more knowledge than you. You have all that power within yourself. All the knowledge that ever was and is all within you. And when we start to look outside of ourselves for answers, we lose sight of this. We don't trust ourselves anymore. But it's all right there. It's right in front of you. And it's in your now reality. And as we are in this moment of great change on this planet, this golden era that is here and continuing to stream in, we are being asked to create a world that we want, the world that we desire, that provides us peace and harmony and balance again. And last week, I had a dear friend who was in town visiting for the holidays, and we were in college together. And so we have known each other for a long time. And we were making, catching up, making small talk. And she asked me my opinion about what was going on in the world right now, what the state of affairs, specifically as it relates to conflict situations. And I said to her, aren't you tired of this energy? Aren't you tired of seeing people hurt? Aren't you tired of us living in this good versus bad mentality? We are visitors on this earth. And we don't own anything. Gaia, it's Gaia's. We are visiting her. We are guests in her house. And it's not an energy that I want to continue to stay in. I want something better for all of us. I want a world that is not in this energy anymore. And, as we're just passing by or passers-by in this, we have the ability to make the world that we want. And I think the situations that are going on in the world right now are really pushing us to say, aren't we tired of the storyline? Aren't we tired of seeing this happening over and over and over again? Do we not learn our lesson? Whether it's a school shooting or a war or someone who is abusing their position of power, it feels outdated and frankly exhausting. And by no means am I dismissing the situation. I'm continuing to send love and prayers and golden energy and holding a frequency of peace for everyone who is impacted by any of these constructs. And by the way, the same energy that's playing out here on Earth has also been playing out in the cosmos, an intergalactic conflict. So it's mirroring everywhere. For me personally, I'm tired of fighting. I was tired of fighting myself, and I surrendered. But so many people are fighting themselves and each other. And this is what's creating the conflict in our outer world. This is why we are at a crossroads. And the energies that are flooding our planet right now are forcing us to make a change. They are shining more light upon the shadows. They are not letting us off the hook this time. They're not going to let us off the hook. The higher powers are not letting us off the hook this time. We can't bypass this. There's no spiritual bypassing. There's no bypassing any of this. We have to tackle it head on. And there's a lot of support around each of us who are going through this. We've got tons of angels and spirit team members and guides on this earth right now who are supporting us and helping us. And they're doing so much work to get us into a new place. But you are also one of those guides here on earth to help others. This is why you are a light holder. You are forcing a change on this planet. And all of the galaxies are going through their own reinvention, their own rebirth as well. There's a lot of talk around New Earth, blessed Gaia, and the move to the fifth dimension consciousness. I've been talking about this a lot. And we all have our downloads and we all have our visions of what this looks like and what's going to happen. Some believe that it is a new earth that we are moving to. Others believe that it is our ability to bring the fifth dimension into our current time and space to help transform this earth into a place of peace and love and harmony and unity. Whatever you subscribe to, it really doesn't matter unless we are willing to play our roles really well. And when the light shines on our shadows, to go within and do the excavating that is necessary so we can stop walking around trying to hurt other people or ourselves from a place of unhealed wounds. But instead, we need to love ourselves and in turn love each other. And really, love is the only way out of this. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please rate, review, leave a message, or share with others who may find it helpful. You can engage with me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Stina Life. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.